You may have seen reports last week of a Canadian sniper breaking the record for the longest kill in military history. Canada's National Department of Defence confirmed that a member of Canada's Joint Elite Task Force 2 Special Forces unit deployed in Iraq killed an Islamic State fighter in Mosul. The distance was a remarkable 3,540 meters, which is more than 3.5 kilometers. It's a remarkable distance. It's the size of 38 football fields or 58 ice hockey rinks. It would be the equivalent of someone standing on Bloor Street in Toronto and shooting someone who was standing at the waterfront on Lake Ontario. Or in Calgary, it'd be like someone standing at the Bow Tower and picking off a penguin in the Calgary Zoo. It would require incredible skill and precision to make that kind of shot, and it simply shatters the previous record held for the longest kill in the history of warfare. But there's one thing that's a little off about all this. When Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was elected, he pledged to withdraw Canada from the combat mission in Iraq. In one of his very first acts as Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau called then US President Barack Obama and said that he was withdrawing Canada's fighter jets from the coalition bombing campaign. Trudeau said that Canada would no longer be involved in the combat side of the mission, but would instead focus on a training capacity. Trudeau specifically didn't want Canada to be involved on the combat side. So Canada's mission in Iraq is officially called an advise and assist role, supposedly focused on training and consulting with local Iraqi security forces. And yet here we have one of our forces clearly shooting at and killing ISIS agents. So what does Trudeau have to say for himself about all this?
The advise and assist mission that our Canadian forces are engaged in northern Iraq has always had an element of defense of obviously Canadian troops and of our coalition partners. That is something that is integral to this mission, and that is something that has always been followed.
Typical Trudeau. He says so many words, but says absolutely nothing. So Trudeau says that Canadian soldiers shooting at enemy forces isn't combat. Why? Because our role includes elements of defense? So is Trudeau saying that shooting an enemy at 3.5 kilometers away was in self-defense? Look, I'm happy that our Canadian forces are helping our allies in Iraq and Syria. I'm pleased that this Canadian hero has shot and killed a terrorist and that Canadian forces are working to stop ISIS. Despite Trudeau's best efforts to sideline Canadian forces and to appease Islamist sympathizers, Canada is making its mark. And despite Trudeau talking out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to Canada's role in fighting terrorism, well, look, he may not be telling the truth to Canadians, but at least our military is doing the right thing, and they're making us all proud. For the Rebel Media, I'm Candace Malcolm.